Alright, is this thing on? Is this thing on? Cool. Oh shit. Oh man. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm just going to go ahead and discuss some stuff that's going on. And right now, there's a lot of things going on in the world right now. And it's getting a little bit crazier right now. And a lot of it has to do with a lot of the crazy stuff that's going on. Right now, there's been some discussions on the internet about what's going on, and there's been this whole big conspiracy that's been happening, and a lot of people are discussing this conspiracy and questioning what's going on. A lot of things have been a little bit dark and a little bit I will discuss the news as well. There's been like a fellow YouTuber who went missing, and some suspect that he may have committed suicide. Others suspect that he may have ran away. And considering that he suffered from mental issues, a lot of people right now are concerned that he is missing. Now, for those who don't know, a missing YouTuber's personal items found along the Manhattan Bridge. Now, a lot of people are talking about this. Desmond Omofa, 29-year-old video game reviewer who goes by the name Etika on YouTube, where he boasts about he was a rising star on YouTube until he started to go crazy, and a lot of people are talking about this because he was a big rising star on YouTube. He was the YouTuber that a lot of people followed, and the New York Post recently did an editorial talking about him. It's not really an editorial, it's just news, because right now he is missing. And for those who don't know Etika, he if you see this man, please report him. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to this thing right here. Now, Etika went missing, and a lot of people suspect he committed suicide. And I'm kind of worried about him too, because considering what happened, he had done some things that were crazy, and a lot of it's been crazier and crazier. Now, Desmond, that's his name, Omofa, 29-year-old video game reviewer, goes by his name Etika on YouTube, where he boasts about 1,100 followers, was last heard from around 8 p.m. Wednesday. Cops said the police began searching for any signs of Brooklyn man's same day he vanished, prompting investigation to make a startling discovery while canvassing the Manhattan Bridge Wednesday night. Cops found Omofa's New York State driver's license along with several other cards in his wallet. They found his cell phone, a black and red Nintendo Switch, and a laptop bag believed to belong to Omofa, which contained a pair of boxers and shirts and shorts and headphones. And police sources said YouTuber disappeared after posting cryptic, since deleted videos, which he apologizes and claims to be suicidal. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. He was a rising star, and a lot of people have been talking about this. Obi, hold on. I know you want to come outside. I know you're a good boy. Yeah, there's been discussion about this. I feel sad for him because he was a rising star on YouTube. A lot of people really, I heard a lot of positive things about him, and for some reason he felt very, and this is what the statement says, I wasn't suicidal before, I really wasn't, but the one thing I didn't realize was the walls were closing around me so fast. I really had no intentions of killing myself, but I always pushed too far, he continued, and I guess I am mentally ill. Omofa, who boasted about 2,000 Twitter boasted about 1,000 Instagram, blah blah blah. Twitter tweeted before he was last heard from and reacted to the last episode of Attack on Titan, the anime television show. His younger brother, who asked to remain anonymous, said haven't spoken nearly a year, but when they did, he didn't show any signs of depression. I haven't seen him or behave like that. He told the Post when he reached the phone Saturday, referring to Omofaro's video message. The 26-year-old graduate student who lives in New Jersey said he tried to reaching out to his brother since learning of his disappearance, but never heard back. I love my brother. I hope he didn't get hurt, he continued, and I'm wishing to be the best. For anyone who's living out in New York or in New Jersey or possibly any state, if you see this person, please contact the police as soon as possible. He may be mentally ill. He may be confused. He may try to kill himself. But please, if you see him, please contact anyone and reach out to him and please get him back in. If you're listening to this, Desmond, please come back. Your fans need you, and I hope you can understand that YouTube would be empty without you. If not, goodbye. Okay, now I'm done with that. I'm sorry. It's just, it gets a little bit emotional, and a lot of people are really, yeah, you can see by the reaction of his fans and everyone out there. And I'm going to show you right now on social media. A lot of fans are posting this right now on the news article. And you can see right here, they are pretty much saying no, and this is pretty sad too. No, seriously, I doubt he'd take it this far. I don't know him personally, but I do feel sorry for him, and I'm just gonna say this right now. You can see that his fans are posting and are pretty shocked and are pretty upset about this. Right now, a lot of people are worried that he may be suicidal. If you see Desmond, please contact the police immediately. If he went to another state or he went to any place, please contact the police as soon as possible if he is missing. Because right now, people are worried about him. If he is possibly missing or he possibly committed suicide, I don't know. I just hope he's okay. I just want to know if he's all right. That's all I could probably tell you guys right now, because right now people should be watching, seeing if he's okay. But right now, it's pretty bad right now that the fans are hurt by this, and it's pretty bad. Right now, there's been some talk about some things, and I'm going to go ahead and switch it out, because right now there's been a lot of things that are going on. Now, keep this in mind. There's been a lot of people talking about this situation. Now, I'm going to go to... Damn advertisement. I really hate that advertisement. But I'm going to go ahead and leave a video out here, because right now this is a pretty... well, let's just say Conspiracy by Mad Queen show. But as far as I know, a lot of people are talking about this whole thing, about what's going on and why are the news outlets attacking Cyberpunk 2077. As far as I know, there's been a lot of discussions about this, and I probably should discuss this right now. Now, I'm going to go ahead and try to... put it out there. So here we go.
Oh, that's hot.
There we go.
That's hot.
Okay. This is it. ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the video so you guys can have fun, do your thing, and also that Mad Queen is also doing her live stream. So I'm not going to try to disrespect her or anything. I know she's doing her own thing. There's been a lot of discussion about this so-called situation, and I'm going to go ahead and possibly try to figure out something here because I don't want to use her thing and then try to discredit her or anything like that. So let's see here. Alright. I don't want to be rude. So let's see here. Let's find out what's happening. So I'm going to have to find it out about this and see who and what is talking about. Alright, I guess I'll take the... Alright, I guess we'll use that. Here we go. Alright guys, here's the 18-minute video about this... About Epic behind the coordinated attacks against CD Red Project. So, here we go.
Start with a disclaimer because what I'm going to say here can be understood as a list of very serious accusations. Let's say that I'm merely going to point out a sequence of very strange coincidences, and I'm going to put in the description an exhaustive list of links as proof. All the research for this video has been done with the collaboration of the Triple S League, and I do really appreciate their help on this matter. As we're all noticing, we're living recently a trend of extreme backlash against Cyberpunk 2077 and CD Projekt Red. And if you think that this backlash has something to do with social justice, human rights, social issues, use the name you want. Well, listen closely because I may give you a couple of reasons to think twice about it. Or maybe what I'm going to give you is the proof that I definitely lost it. I don't know which one of them to. As I said before, I'm merely going to point out strange coincidences and give you proof of these coincidences. And with this, you will be able to extract your own conclusions because I just don't know what's going on anymore. Before explaining the strange coincidences, let's talk about the background because context matters. CD Projekt Red faced backlash in the past, but this new wave of backlash that started recently is very different, both in motives and in scope, because the size of it is so big, its subjects so varied, and seems to be mostly based on the mistrust caused by mistakes of the past, omission of information, manipulation of information, and cherry-picking of information. So if you take some distance from it and look at the whole picture, you can help but wonder, okay, what's really going on in here? This current trend of backlash questioning the ethics of CD Projekt Red has its origins in forums, social media, and in gaming outlets powerful enough for other outlets to echo their narrative without them having to do any kind of effort. CD Projekt Red are no strangers to seeing their words misinterpreted by omission of information. Like is the example of this article published by Kotaku and signed by Jason Schreier, exhuming fuck-ups of the management of CD Projekt that happened years ago regarding the unsustainable working conditions at the studio that we already knew about, and accidentally forgetting to make any kind of research or even mentioning what are the current working conditions there. A mistake that the co-founder and joint CEO of CD Projekt Marcin Iwiński seemed to try to correct when he spoke again with Jason Schreier during this E3 interview that was titled CD Projekt Red Boss Again Promises that Cyberpunk devs won't have to crunch. This article is linked in the description. It contains the full interview, you can hear it all, and judge by yourself. If you agree with me when I say that this headline seems to subtly imply a very different message that what is explained in the interview. But lately the backlash is more focused and comes in waves. Another very powerful outlet, PC Gaming, didn't forget to remind everybody how transphobic CD Projekt Red are when talking about the new character creation system of Cyberpunk 2077 that has been changed to accommodate both trans and non-binary folks. Also accidentally forgetting to mention for how long this character creation system has been on the works, as character creation in Cyberpunk 2077 includes more than the body and the face of the character. It also includes background and included options like the choice of childhood hero. This needed to be updated to accommodate the introduction of Johnny Silverhand as a prominent character in the game. The actor portraying Silverhand, Keanu Reeves, joined Cyberpunk 2077 around a year ago, And during this E3, no complete character creation was shown. Just a couple of quick images with reduced options showing the avatar and a minimal part of the background. So it looked like the system was being revamped. Although we cannot be sure about it because they forgot to mention. The case of Rock Paper Shotgun seems way less subtle to me, where a white writer criticizes how black characters are treated in the game, accidentally forgetting to point out that the creator of Cyberpunk and consultant of Cyberpunk 2077 Mike Pondsmith is black. How CD Projekt Red has advisors to create these characters, and what's the real ethnic diversity at the studio?
Yes, the Voodoo Boys. What I love about the Voodoo Boys, I love them, is that I have been trying to get more of a sense of also African American or African cultures in there, and where they took them was to really make it more religious as well, and I think that's just awesome. One of my associates, one of the guys who works with me, he was later on talking to some people who were of Caribbean descent. Where were they from, Jay? They were from Haiti. And Haiti or Trinidad, and they were listening to discussions, where the Voodoo Boys are talking, and they went, "Yeah, we understand that. That's our language," and they nailed it.
That's awesome.
And I looked at the church and went, "Yeah, that's the sort of church I've seen." And there's, clothing styles and things that people are doing that tell me this is a different culture in the cyberpunk culture. So, some people kind of gone, well, I'm not sure about this. Maybe it's offensive. I'm going, no, man, this is covering something that we need to do. It's cool.
Sure.
The picture I'm seeing here seems to go from a direct attack to a very suspicious omission of information and manipulation of information. These accidental mistakes, intended or not, are pushing a very particular narrative against CD Projekt Red. And this narrative doesn't seem to be parsed to fight for trans rights, folk rights, feminism, working conditions of developers, or any other social justice, human rights, social issues, anything that has to do with it. These subjects seem to be exploited due to their sensitive nature and how important they are. So in the hypothetical case that this is intended, what may be the reason behind it? Well, you tell me when I'm done explaining these suspicious coincidences, because as I said before, maybe I just lost it. The first strange coincidence that I couldn't help but notice is the dates. Recently, CD Projekt announced the launch of GOG Galaxy 2.0, a client for online games distribution that aims to unify all different gaming platforms in one place, unifying the friends, trophies, and other features from Steam to Xbox. All this in a fragmented ecosystem where all hubs like Epic Games Store are trying to gain more adepts that exclusively visit the platform. A truly innovative vision in online games distribution. Shortly after this announcement, the new wave of backlash started. Or maybe it's just coincidence because these dates are also very close to E3. But let's analyze the competition of GOG Galaxy 2.0. Let's start with Epic Games Store. The biggest investor of Epic Games, as they purchased the 48% of their stock in 2013, is the Chinese conglomerate Tencent, leaders in China's digital gaming market. To give you an idea how big Tencent is in China when it comes to gaming, in 2017, Tencent's revenue in digital gaming only in the Chinese market was almost double than Activision in the whole world. Right now, Epic Games and Tencent only have to seriously compete in digital distribution in China with Steam. But being China a country known for their restrictive policies, to say it softly, a foreign company like Valve that doesn't really understand the Chinese market has not much to do there. For this reason, past week, Valve announced a partnership with the Chinese company Perfect World, a subsidiary of Perfect Peony Holding Company Limited, a company focused on the research, development, operation and licensing of online games. And I don't know if I should label this company as Chinese, as their legal base is in the tax haven of the Cayman Islands. Western gaming companies joining with Chinese companies to establish their business in China is a common practice. This also helps them have their games approved by Chinese officials quite easier. This is also the case of CD Projekt, who past July announced their partnership with the Chinese developer and publisher Gaea, a partnership that aims to strengthen the publishing, localization, promotion and sales efforts of the games, and according to their own words, also marks the official entry of CD Projekt Red onto the vast Chinese market. CD Projekt entered the Chinese market in 2017, and since then they have made their best efforts in understanding the Chinese market and and to create very specific strategies to set a foot there. They opened an office in Shanghai to coordinate sales and marketing activities in China, and they reiterated many times the interest of the company in expanding and securing their position in the country, as China continues to rank as the world's largest video game market, generating a total annual revenue of more than $34 billion. That's one hell of a cake. After the future launch of GOG Galaxy 2.0, Zeta Project reveals itself as a serious competition for Epic Games and Tencent in China, a threat that wouldn't affect Valve that much due to the differences in their catalogs. So even if users accessed Steam's database through GOG Galaxy 2.0, they would still need to buy their games on Steam, which could even potentially boost Steam. And remember, Steam is the most serious competition of Epic Games and Tencent in China. In addition to that, the number of new users that the most anticipated game Cyberpunk 2077 would attract to GOG Galaxy could also pose a threat to Epic Games in the rest of the world, so significantly reducing the number of people interested in Cyberpunk 2077, and specifically the people interested in supporting Zeta Project by getting their digital copy through GOG Galaxy would significantly reduce the expansion of GOG Galaxy 2.0, because let's be honest, at this point we're in right now, GOG is not doing great. And while GOG Galaxy 2.0 is a great idea, we all know that the true strength of platforms are games to attract customers to such platforms. So, in this hypothetical environment, an attack on Cyberpunk 2077 would be way more efficient than an attack on GOG Galaxy 2.0. On October 2018, the Scopelink venture formed by Epic Games and Tencent got an investment of $1.25 billion from several firms including Smash Ventures and Vulcan Capital. One of these investors is the entertainment and esports management company Axiomatic. As you can learn in the website of Axiomatic Gaming, where they have all the information on their board of directors, the co-executive chairman and co-founder of Axiomatic is Ted Leonsis, a man who, what a coincidence, is also an investor of Vox Media, owners of the online magazine Polygon. On past June, that for one of those coincidences of life was shortly after the public announcement of the future launch of GOG Galaxy 2.0. But again, it may be only a coincidence, E3. Vox Media joined with CNET to campaign against YouTube channels that they described as angry YouTubers, in an attack that included not only a written article but also an active attempt to demonetize, strike, or even force YouTube to take measures against these commentators, under the threat of provoking the second apocalypse on YouTube by convincing advertisers that these YouTubers were bad for their image. These channels included Angry Joe, The Quartering, Jim Sterling, and Legacy Killer. Channels that, what a coincidence, from very different positions in the, let's call it, ideological spectrum, are known for the harsh critiques not only in the gaming industry, but also the gaming culture, making videos commenting about backlash against gaming companies, and being the most passionate defenders of freedom of speech in YouTube gaming. And what a coincidence, the channels on this list have commented on the backlash against Zeta Project Red and Cyberpunk 2077, and they are supporters of Zeta Project Red. It almost sounds like in the hypothetical and crazy case that this was the starting point of a coordinated attack against Zeta Project, the first step of it was trying to get out of the way the most powerful voices in gaming that would loudly speak up against this attack. Or maybe it's just a coincidence. Other of the companies that Vox Media owns is Tulkan, a strategic financial and corporate communications advisory firm, which specialty is building and protecting the reputation of companies with stockholders. So, God forbid that it may happen. Given the hypothetical situation that they ever wanted to ruin a company's reputation, they would know the specific steps they shall follow to achieve their goals. But we're not done with strange coincidences. The conglomerate Tencent is also a partner of Myriad Advertising, a technology company specialized in product placement that uses a very scary technology, very similar to the one used for surveillance in China, to analyze scenes in a footage to automatically identify ad inventory opportunities in such content to match with the emotional content of the scene. They call it emotionally intelligent advertising powered by an artificial intelligence. I'm going to leave to your imagination what other uses can be given to such technology. Obviously, Myriad Advertising has more partners than Tencent, and their first partner in the United States, what a coincidence, is the mass media conglomerate Univision Communications Incorporated, who were the owners of Kotaku until in past April when they sold Gizmodo Media Group to the private equity firm Great Hill Partners, who also in the same April bought the company Custom Inc., along with lesser investors from Revolution Growth, a company that Ted Leonsis co-founded. We talked about Ted Leonsis before, the co-executive chairman and co-founder of Axiomatic, investors of Epic Games. What a coincidence, this man is everywhere. The investment bank Betsy Prunier also serves some very strange coincidences. In their investment summary for October 2018, they explained to us they are responsible for the transaction in the Epic Games funding round, saying, "The $1.25 billion round of funding raised by Epic Games, the makers of Fortnite, from KKR, Iconic Capital, Smash Ventures, Axiomatic, Vulcan Capital, Kleiner Perkins and Lightspeed Venture Partners, as well as existing investors Disney, Tencent and Endeavor, at a reported $15 billion evaluation, is the largest ever investment in a video game company." The same month, this same investment banking Betsy Prunier also managed the founding round of the analyst Quid Incorporated, where the highest bidders were the co-founder of Kaikai Air, investors of Epic, with 37 million, and Relx Group with 38 million. Quid Incorporated is an analysis company that helps companies analyze large volumes of text from news, social media, and the web, which is not relevant to what I'm talking about, but I just find these technologies fascinating and I wanted to share with you. Because, well, it's a very funny coincidence that Epic Games has such connections with so many companies that have the technology needed for massive social engineering. A very shady practice we've seen plenty of times applied to win elections. But obviously, government will always deny it because it's illegal. Or maybe I'm just being paranoid in here. Other of the companies that also has access to these marvelous technologies are the other big investors of Quid Incorporated, Relx Group. They are a global provider of information-based analytics and decision tools for professional and business customers. They operate in 4 market segments: scientific, technical and medical, risk, business analytics, legal and exhibitions. Is this exhibitions part that owns Reed Entertainment Group, where we can find another connection with the Epic Games investor, as Reed Entertainment has the license to organize the most famous convention of Star Wars, the Star Wars Celebration, property owned by Disney. Quite a lucrative venture, as exhibitions gave the Relx Group a sum over $1 billion past 2018. But this can be a coincidence, you know, Disney has a lot of licensees. But Reed Entertainment also has partners, like Reed Pop, who, what a coincidence, bought Gamer Network in February 2018, and with it, the media outlets that it contains, Eurogamer, Rock Paper Shotgun, and VG247 amongst other. But they sure like to brag about the Star Wars convention. Well, maybe it means nothing, they also brag about PAX. And you would think, well, it doesn't mean much because Disney owns almost everything, and that's true because what a coincidence, the same year Disney invested in Epic Games, they also invested in Axiomatic. Look at that. In the hypothetical case that these very easily proven connections that you can easily find with enough time in front of the computer and a healthy diet of coffee and Diet Coke, again, list of links in the description that may or may not make any sense at all, but in the hypothetical case that these connections of Epic Games and their partners with the major and most powerful gaming outlets and companies with the technological tools in market analysis and other shady practices was used for manipulating the public opinion to overshadow their competition, the Polish developer CD Projekt. It would explain how is it possible that a company such as CD Projekt that has always been known and praised for the quality of their PR, suddenly turned into the biggest noobs in communication. Because in the hypothetical case that this is a thing, it also would explain how is it possible that every single word put out by CD Projekt that should be amplified by gaming outlets is accidentally misunderstood, some information is accidentally omitted, and the meaning is accidentally twisted. Funnily enough, in the hypothetical case that this is a thing, these same media didn't really have the problem to publicly praise the initiative of GOG Galaxy 2.0, as if this theory is correct, given the current state of GOG Galaxy 2.0 won't do much without the success of Cyberpunk 2077. They seem to have the means, the motives, and the tools because the powerful and advanced technology at their disposal. In market research, an analysis would show them the exact spots they need to press to subtly push the narrative that would hurt CD Projekt the most. And now it's your turn to tell me what you make of it. Am I describing a cyberpunk fantasy? Did I finally go crazy? Or are really Epic Games and their partners manipulating the public opinion to protect the biggest investment in gaming ever? You tell me.
So what do you guys think of that? As far as I know, it's kind of weird. Like a lot of people are talking about this because this is something that kind of is discussing the fact that people are questioning this a little bit on the situation, because a lot of people are talking about Anita and her involvement in this as well. And considering what happened, a lot of people are talking about this issue. And it's getting crazier. It may be a conspiracy, but a lot of people are talking about what is Anita's involvement in this. Now, Kotaku and other news outlets are not talking about this because I kind of had to agree with someone's point on this, that this is kind of crazy because of what's been happening and what's been discussed about the businesses involved in this and how they are investing into lucrative businesses and trying to make Epic Games into one big deal, when really Epic Games isn't really a good store to begin with, because a lot of people have been discussing the issue with the Epic Games Store. Now, the situation was, it was kind of funny though, because a lot of people were talking about this, and especially how Eurogamer was attacking another news site, which was a small business site, mind you. And the way they were doing it was unprofessional, and I had to look at it from afar on this whole issue with Brandon, because the guys from Eurogamer attacked Brandon Orsolini's news outlet, which was Niche Gamer, and Niche Gamer doesn't want to be a part of this whole drama fest to begin with, because when they tried to interview a Sega, if I recall, there was a interview that they did on Niche Gamer, and I gotta look it up because I kind of forgot about it, because I'm not really familiar with because I know Niche Gamer is a really good news site for because they basically talk about Japanese games, and they really like those Japanese games. And what happened was they actually had some really good interviews from doing interviews with Japanese developers at E3, and of course N247 attacked them over it and made fun of this whole issue about the video game. Yakuza Creator, here it is. Yakuza Creator, we make games for Japan and Asia first, catering to much lessen our peer. Now, the interview that they conducted with was an interesting interview, because they were basically not trying to do attacks on him or anything like that. They were basically just trying to talk about the game and everything, and there was a little bit of what they would call, because they were basically discussing the game itself, outside of the politics and all that other stuff. They just wanted to be, you could tell they were just being nice about it. Now, keep this in mind, this interview was done really well because they weren't trying to attack them for the controversy over the drug use of one of their employees who worked at the game, who was like an actor. And what happened was they didn't want to bring that up because that's what Niche Gamer wasn't about. They were basically trying to, promote the game as is. Sega's chief creator officer Toshiro Nagashi, this year at E3, we talked to him up on his influence and transitions from being a long-running Yakuza franchise and, of course, his next opus, Judgment. Find out the entire interview. Now, a lot of people were talking about this and the drama between the Eurogamer writer, I forgot his name, now VG 24/7 drama. Now, their interview, extremely bad interview with Yakuza Takashi. Now, they went after VG, basically criticized this whole thing. Basically, I have a few bad interviews, but particularly encountered in E3 made me want to crawl inside my own shoe and die. Kirkland McLean tried to get upset over the whole issue. And this was kind of weird, though, because of the translations, and he was criticizing the translations and a lot of the stuff that was going on in the interview. Now, Kirkland tried to, if I can pronounce his name right, tried to go after him over this. Extremely bad interview with Yakuza creator Toshiro Nagashi. And Kirkland McClendon on Tuesday tried to attack him negatively on this whole thing. Yeah, so he tried to attack him over the whole issue with one of their employees who worked on the game, who basically was a voice actor, and they basically had to fire him because of the use of cocaine was involved in this whole situation. You may recall, in the response of it, no, from going around drinking just from people in bars and stuff, I clarified more. Oh, okay. I cut in to make sure the translator understands the angle, and he incorporated games. He said previously, I was wondering if I could get some examples. So, no one particular. He does remember each. Okay, so it looks like he was being a little bit too rude on this one. So it seems that he was a bit rude and disruptive towards in this interview. When I'm looking at right here, when he tried to, I'm looking at this right now. So hold on. I'm looking at this article, and it seems that he was being disrespectful. Because you can see right here, centuries passed, so I mean the character just died, and just throughout the storyline is obviously, feel free to kind of, a Japanese way approaching it. It also is a personal preference of my own. I don't really like to go far into the battle, Nagoshi says, via a translator. It's just kind of my personal style, more reflective of another hellish noise blast near a speaker, drowning the end of his answer. Nagashi hasn't looked at me the entire time, and I'm pretty sure he like to hit me with a giant cone. Still, the answer was a bit more interesting, and he seems more open talking about his approach to design, and I continued down that route. A lot of your games share the same locations, the same cities in Japan. How do you make you feel fresh throughout the sequential games, I asked it. So the players today are totally different players 10 years ago, so we try to evolve, incorporating more new things into the gameplay, into settings and changes at times. Now, keep this in mind. Niche Gamer basically tried to be nice and tried to focus nicely and respectfully in the interview with Nagashi. But of course, you know, the way they were trying to be rude and everything towards him, VG 24/7 got upset about this. And I think the problem with it is that they basically, why should add some honor chat? Nagashi and his pure translator did a wonderful job in the article meant to highlight the weirdness of E3 when you're a person with everyone walking around like a ghost who died after it turned out into a ghost. There's howls of pain drowning the Boapwoods. I hear them now, Boaps, I mean. Now, he didn't try to be mean. He didn't try to be, you know, because you could tell by, we know that the fans really love the characters in the Yakuza series, and promotion-wise, it might have been great if we could, but Kamikaze Majima and making appearances in general, people would really love to see that. Of course, you know, the PR-wise, you know, you can hear they were trying to be nice and respectful in this interview, and they translated according to what they felt was the right thing to do. They were trying to blame Niche Gamer over this. But it seems that business-wise, it does seem like a really good interview. And they didn't try to discredit him or anything on this whole end. But they're trying to discredit him not to show up at E3 again. After looking at this, excuse me. Man, I was about to sneeze on this one. This whole thing, it looks like they were trying to discredit him. Because even on social media, they were trying to discredit him. And by the looks of it, it wasn't that good. And there was some drama on this whole thing. And there was a lot of people talking about this. And they were really pissed off with how he was treated. Consulted with any real Yakuza. If any executives, let alone public companies, made the slightest contact with Yakuzas, you will be fired at once you face lawsuits. This question might had Nagashi uncomfortable. Yeah, and that's kind of true. And some people said, okay, it's Niche Gamer. I would rather stick my head in the bag of hornets. Entered the thread, could not make it. Why would you publish this? For the sake of ad revenue? It's the only way the journals could garbage. Okay, from the gaming outlets that has the clickbait articles and headlines in order to great leaders. There's no such thing as bad interviews, just bad interviews. And you should be embarrassed for writing this article. Not clicking, baiting, fishing. Yeah, and they're getting upset with Niche Gamer over this, and I'm just like looking at it going like... And you can tell what they're doing here. Yeah, and it seems that some people were pretty upset with Niche Gamer, especially when they tried to post in their own thread too. Now, keep this in mind, it was a good interview, and a lot of people are pretty upset about this. And I'm looking at this from afar, and I'm looking at it pretty widely, and it looks kind of funny too. Now, keep this in mind, there's been a lot of discussions on what's going on, and it's pretty bad. Now, this is something that a lot of people are talking about, and this is something that the drama that's been happening on the interwebs, and especially there's been a lot of talk. Now, there's been real discussions about this issue, especially on Brian Brussolini's end. I've been a wild ride all the way. I like the video games, blah blah blah, but the whole issue that people are having to be is that they're afraid of competition, and the competition tends to rise up against other people, and it's so ridiculous to the point that that competition they're trying to ruin, they really are trying to beat them out. Now, a lot of people are talking about Anita's connection to all this. Now, I'm going to go ahead. I guess I better go ahead and throw in a video or two on this. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the video. I'll be back.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
I know I spoke about this already, and you've already seen 1,000 people talk about it. Anita Sarkeesian, I know. A lot of people say, don't talk about her, she'll go away. Which is good advice, because she has been going away. She's been fading so hard into the ether it isn't even funny. She's literally spent her time on Twitter picking fights randomly and failing miserably. She's even come for Ninja of all people. That guy can't catch a break. But then really, I can't really cry a river for him. I'm sure, when he cries on his bed full of $100 bills, it consoles him. Now, as you remember in my last video about CD Projekt Red and E3, Anita Sarkeesian was going at EA randomly. She made the whole EA press conference about her, feminist frequency, and the lack of female representation, because she's got to stick to that shtick. This girl's got one tune, and it's victimhood. EA didn't speak up during Gamergate at all. When you look at what Zoe Quinn was up to during Gamergate and what she's been up to after Gamergate, it's kind of hard to throw in your hat there to help this girl. This is going to be all over the place, but I saved these tweets, dude. I saved these tweets. They're like a year old almost. Zoe Quinn, back in September, went to Japan, right? For a vacation. She needed it. She worked so hard on that game. So hard spending that money, bro. $80,000, and there's no game in sight. It's probably never happening. Now, MomBot, who I pretty much feels like the investigative reporter of Twitter for me, talks about how Zoe Quinn went to Tokyo. She tweeted about the trip and how her game was having money troubles. A few hours later, she posted a picture of her hotel room. The hotel room she was staying in was the Rudder House. Now, MomBot recognizes this because I believe MomBot is Japanese. She recognized the yakata, I probably said that wrong, she is wearing in the photos that Zoe Quinn took. This hotel room is a suite that costs $300 per night. $300 per night. Oh yeah, while Zoe Quinn was also in Tokyo, she was cruising Tinder. Good work. Hard at work on that game there. Staying in one of the most expensive, luxurious hotels in Japan while also trolling for dick, wearing expensive kimonos. Bloody brilliant. Too Long Didn't Read, still working on it. Just slower because I ran out of money a long time ago and had to get day jobs. Also, I have been working on ways to bring on some assistance with finishing it. Also, don't yell at Chuck about it. Shipping the game is on me. That game ain't never coming. That game's in more development hell than Star Citizen. This is the beauty of the whole hyper-left feminist movement that, thank God, is choking on its own bile. Simply because, let's look at it, man. Look at it. You already know what I'm talking about. Feminist frequency lost $1.6 million in 4 years, dude. 4 years. And nobody knows where the money went. And it's so hard. It was so hard not to make tweets about this, because I knew I'd get in trouble again on Twitter because they keep shadow banning me and telling me I'm bad. But, it's so hard to believe that a group of women, feminists, burned through $1.6 million and nobody knows where the money went. What a shocker. You mean to tell me a group of women mismanaged a large sum of money and now everybody's broke?
It is crazy. We say to give a woman power is like to give a gun to a monkey. We have stopped doing that ever since the 1999 Astana Zoo massacre.
What a fucking shock. My God, if it isn't the funniest thing ever. Why would game developers take Why would you? They can't even run a nonprofit organization that has had money thrown at them. Literally. They fall ass backwards into money, and for every $1 they got, they spend two. And you're going to listen to them about games. If I was like working at EA or something and Anita Sarkeesian came up on my docket, she'd like to talk to you about the game. I tell my assistant, when Anita can figure out how to run a business properly, I'll listen. My God. See, if it was a group of dudes trying to run this, nobody would have listened. They wouldn't have gotten maybe like $300 tops. They would have got that much. And everyone would have told them to fuck off. And if those dudes like mismanaged the $300, where'd the money go? Well, we had some Popeyes chicken. You got a receipt? I don't have any receipt, but here's some chicken bones. We're a nonprofit organization. Carolyn Pennant, the one that used to work for GameSpot, then lost the job or quit because of her review for GTA 5, where she interjected her own personal and political beliefs in a game review. You know what I noticed about Siskel and Ebert, even though they're like both dead? You know what they never did? They never told you how they had a problem with the Prince of Tides because of their personal beliefs in the world. Anyway, Carolyn Pennant back in May. Things getting pretty tight, guys. So I continue looking for work. I posted a bunch of old games for sale on Amazon. I can link directly, but individual listings, but blah, 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 blah. Carolyn Pennant is selling her entire game collection for lunch money. She's on a site called Ko-fi. What happened to your job? I thought Feminist Frequency was the light of the world, the right side of history, the good guys, mother of God. And the funny thing is, she's still working at Feminist Frequency for no money, no longer receiving any cash, and still doing this podcast. Why? You know, it's on a dead YouTube channel. You're wasting your time. Nobody's listening. 200 and how many thousands of people? Stu, for the love of God, manage the tabs. Oh, wow, I have more subs than Feminist Frequency. Whatever. It would be the equivalent of like my channel only getting 1,000 views predominantly for videos. You know, recently a few more videos got a couple more views in the last 3 weeks since E3. But you know, so what? It's a drop in the bucket. That means 220,000 people don't bother with this anymore, and they're still pumping it out. And the funny thing is, the podcast has a producer. A fucking producer for this shit.
Very serious issues with the exploitation of women's bodies. Like it's there's at least one very memorable scene, if not more, in The Witcher 3, where as the main character Geralt, you're sort of investigating it's maybe like a series of murders, and the crime scene that you investigate at one point is just like, you know, sexualized naked women's bodies, dead women's bodies, like just all over the place. And it's the sort of thing that CD Projekt Red
Hey. Nailed it to the wall.
What the sandwich fuck is this? No! Fuck me!
that you investigate at one point is just like, you know, sexualized naked women's bodies, dead women's bodies, like just all over the place. And it's the sort of thing that...
My God. It'd be like the equivalent of me needing a producer to help me in the bathroom while I make bowel movements. Stu, is it hard to stop? My God. They're paying someone to produce that podcast. You know who produces my podcast? And ironically, I get more views for my podcast than Feminist Frequency does on a channel with 10K subscribers. TeamSpeak is the producer of my podcast. Like, the money they spent they just frittered it away. They frittered it away. Just looking at it. Where's the numbers? It's some wild shit, dude. Wild numbers. I'm all over the place. I had this all laid out, right? To be professional and whatnot. Forget it. It's over. I don't have it in me. What? Programming expenditure. $200,000 on programming. I almost started talking like a turkey. You see, this is what happens when there isn't a man involved. There should have been a guy here overlooking the finance. Because this looks all fucked. This must look like DSP's taxes. Expenditures. $200,000 pretty much for programming. What have they done? This is for the year 2017. We can go on Feminist Frequency and look at the 2017 videos.
With ample opportunity to portray scary terrorists who get gunned down while screaming something absurd like "Death to America." It doesn't even matter if you're not actually of Middle Eastern descent. If you're vaguely brown, you can stick around to play bad guys.
This time, we're going to be talking about Star Trek Discovery. I am Anita Sarkeesian, and I am joined by our wonderful operations director, Ebony.
Hey, everybody.
I finally got her on a thing with us. I'm so excited.
And it's because there's no camera.
One day we'll get her on camera.
No, I'm like the Phantom.
Las cucarachas entran, pero no pueden salir.
No, sir, he doesn't like it.
Thank you, Mr. Horse.
You telling me that this costs $200,000 for programming to run the YouTube channel that looks like something kids out of a high school drama class could put together feasibly with a white wall costs $200,000. Administrative. What's administrative? That's $116,000. They don't tell you what it is, but this is the cost of things. Development and community engagement. That means campaigning for more money. It cost them $126,000 to beg for money. Miscellaneous adjustments, $10,000. Total expenditures for the year of 2017, $500,000. So Feminist Frequency cost $500,000 for the year of 2017. I'm looking at the videos in his timeline, and I don't know how what did they do? What did they do? Where did this money go? Probably like most of the money was spent going on trips like GDC and E3. They probably stayed in nice places and shit. Anita Sarkeesian patted her own pockets. I guarantee you. Give it like 3 or 4 more years. She's going to burn somebody's ass, and they're going to rat her out. They're going to be like, Anita Sarkeesian pocketed most of the Feminist Frequency money. She's sitting on $1 million. All right, 2018's Feminist Frequency. What did they do that year? Oh, the Feminist Frequency radio show that nobody gives a fuck about. If there's a producer, I bet that dude is popping Ambien like Tic Tacs, sitting there listening to it. They launched a new show called Queer Tropes, where Carolyn Pennant complains about gay representation in games. The world needs that.
It's still important to note that what the game itself gives us, and what most players will experience, is a cruel and unnecessary mockery of trans identities. In this regard, for all of its fresh and exhilarating design choices, Breath of the Wild feels positively ancient, part of a long, long tradition of video games perpetuating homophobia and transphobia.
Live streaming. Oh, well then. If they have live streaming, why? Anyway, every week, the feminists team together to play new releases, provocative indie games, or retro classics, while viewers watch and participate in lively chat. No wonder they asked for $30,000 to open a Discord. They're trying to get money everywhere they can. I need to find the Feminist Frequency live stream. Where is this? Who would want to watch them play a video game? All they do is complain about crap. Why on God's green earth would you tune in to Feminist Frequency's live stream of a game? They play it and sit there and go, the female character's butt is too voluptuous and perky. This is ridiculous. Patriarchy right here. I knew it. They made a Twitch page. My God. They have 4K followers. All right, let's see how good this is. This is where some of the Feminist Frequency money went. obviously, it's a miracle that Ninja has any money. He must spend multi-millions of dollars just to afford to survive playing on Twitch. The fact that they're Twitch partners is ridiculous with these numbers. 3 people are in chat. My God. It took 25 minutes for one person to post something 3 times. Oh my God, this stream sucks dick. The quality isn't that great. It's off of a console number 2. And Carolyn Pennant is the one playing it and says absolutely nothing. Wow. This gets partnered on Twitch, but Senpai still isn't partnered. What a joke. Oh, okay. Engagement. Feminist Frequency went globetrotting in 2018. From Sweden to South Korea, New York, South Africa, the Feminist Frequency team stays on the move. Basically, the money that they're getting is going towards these trips. Oh my God. Our audience located around the world. Really? Notice how they go to only places that are safe in first world countries? Notice that? Feminist Frequency isn't going to Iran to spread the word of feminism. So now we know they go and do little talk shows or something like that. You know, what do you call this shit? Good God Almighty! Talk about mismanaging money. You gotta look at this data collection. This is bad data collection. All right, they're sitting here. You're sitting here. They got this whole thing showing off their YouTube subscribers, 222,000. Twitter followers, 700,000. Facebook subscribers, 100,000. Instagram followers, 6,000. This is all bullshit metrics, really, because their YouTube channel, only 1,000 people ever bother with anything. Ever. Like a max of 3,000. If you go to Feminist Frequency's Twitter, for Twitter that has almost 1 million followers, only 78 people bothered to like the fact they put out a t-shirt. 78 people out of 722,000. They have one post, Anita Sarkeesian created Feminist Frequency 10 years ago this year. Don't miss the brand new profile where they basically promote the Polygon article. 2018 financial information, cash flow report. Their opening balance is $150,000 or $160,000. Corporate donations only 22,000. Individuals 153,000. Grant funding. Okay, so their starting operational funds for 2018 was $300,000, almost $400,000. Well, no, $360,000. Their expenditures, programming, $186,000. Administrative, almost $100,000. Development and community engagement, $40,000. Now they're left with only $30,000. And the funny thing is, this doesn't tell you what they spend the money on. And it obviously isn't Feminist Frequency's YouTube page. It's dead. And the content they do put out is the level of content a person could put out themselves with a Blue Yeti, for God's sakes. And that only costs $150 with a free game. And you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad that it's ending. But unfortunately, they'll probably get more donations again. Sure, Anita Sarkeesian closed down the doors of her business and whatnot. Earlier this year, Sarkeesian decided that Feminist Frequency needed to change. She ceased taking a salary and laid off her co-creators and close friends, Ebony Adams and Pettit. Probably saying that wrong. She closed her offices and stopped making videos. One, why did you need offices, as in plural? Why did they need offices for this? Feminist Frequency is still going. Yeah, like a person on life support, clinging to life. But it's now mainly focused on regular podcasts hosted by Adams, Patent, and Sarkeesian. It's purely voluntary organization. Sarkeesian has no pat answer to the question of why she decided to move on. No, it was just time. The answer are more complicated. Yeah, they can't seem to get any more funding. You know, they're looking for money, believe me. They're looking for money. I mean, Anita Sarkeesian was yelling, well, not yelling. She was hitting up CD Projekt Red looking for work. She is yelling at EA for not giving them $1 million grant. And what would they do with that $1 million? They'd burn through it. I'm looking looking at this funding. It doesn't make sense. They don't even tell you where the money goes, which means they frittered it away. If they had a guy in the mix, he would have said, no, there's no need for you to go flying all over the damn world to first world countries with luxury suites to do little special talks that no one genuinely gives a flying fuck about. You're bleeding money. All right, I just looked at the feminist frequency thing, and the treasurer was Miley Martinez. Even had a woman in charge of the funding, huh? Explains where it all went. Though it comes as no surprise. This video is all discombobulated because I just lost myself into looking at all of this shit. But it comes as no surprise. This is par for the course. It's what people have been saying for years, that Anita Sarkeesian and her ilk are con artists. I mean, for real. She just came in, screamed women's rights, games are sexist, racism, sexist, rapist, patriarchy, and everyone just sort of jumped on. Everyone jumped on and just threw money at them. And what have they done for the gaming industry that was good? Nothing. The only thing they've done was stick around and occasionally every E3 put out some sort of pointless ass charts talking about there's not enough female representation in games. Like, that's pretty much the only thing I've known them to do. Wait till E3 comes, complain about it, talk about sexism in video games. Ugh, everything's messed up. By the way, you can give us money to open a Discord. My God, I'm glad that this has happened. But I don't think it's the end. It's never the end for these people. Because at some point, someone will give them money.
So what do you guys think of this whole situation with Anita Sarkeesian? Now, a lot of people are talking about this because of the fact that there's been discussions about what is going on with Anita Sarkeesian. And like I said before, to all these businesses, don't invest into her. She's not really into video games. She's not into this. I don't know why journalists and other outlets are letting her operate without criticism, because I was surprised by all these outlets, because a lot of these outlets have been discussed. I myself was discussing with friends about this issue, and there's been a lot of criticisms involved in this. Now, there was open criticisms that people were talking about, especially in the games industry. And right now, a lot of people are talking about this situation because there's been discussions on what's going to happen and why Anita Sarkeesian is involved in this. Now, a lot of since the issue with Anthem and the whole situation with her being involved in the games industry, I heard from sources that she basically received some money in order to discuss issues with game designers about the issues of sexism and all this other stuff. Now, keep this in mind. There's been a lot of talk about this. And this had been discussed on what was going on in the games industry. Why did they give this woman money? Why is she given money when criticisms from legit criticism by other people, like, for example, Boogie298 and others discussed this issue with the game developers and everything else. When there's legit criticism versus criticism by Anita Sarkeesian discussing about sexism, racism, and all this other stuff that's been happening in the game industry, why? And of course, when people say that's not the issue, the opposing side gets accused of being racist and sexist when they try to bring out the fact that that's not the case. And of course, the journalists who basically side with Anita are defending Anita and are trying to attack certain things in the games industry. And I noticed that Anita comes into the middle of it all. And I noticed that that EA at the time was accused of all this BS that happened. I don't know why, considering that the whole loot box situation happened, and of course what happened with that kind of surprised me. Oh yes, the surprise mechanic situation. Now a lot of people had been talking about this issue because this has been discussed about. Now keep this in mind. I'm just laughing at this because a lot of people have been talking about this for a while, and this has been discussed a lot, especially in the situation. I don't know why they would invest into these companies, and then suddenly I noticed that Disney has been buying them out, and it does seem to explain some things, especially the conspiracy behind this whole issue. And it does seem to make some truth. It does seem some truth is happening in this whole situation, because a lot of people are realizing, yeah, Anita is being is trying to get money off of this, trying to ask for, hey, you can talk to me and I'll give you my opinions on this, blah blah blah, for only a fee of $1,000. Now, keep this in mind. A lot of people were talking about discussing this, especially how the news outlets are letting her operate without criticism and not even questioning the fact that she was associated with a con artist back in the days. And a lot of people were because there was an infomercial that popped up, and it was sort of interesting that this whole pickup artist guy who basically started up a business venture where you could discuss with people on how to make money by basically talking to people business wise and try to convince them to give you money. That was pretty much what it was this whole time, and before you know it, a lot of people started to question Anita, and a lot of people questioned her, and of course the critics and then I noticed that the journalists got involved and tried to basically attack the other side of the argument by accusing them of being racist, misogynist, and all this other stuff, when some of them didn't really, really attack her or anything like that. They just questioned her motives and why are you doing this? What is the reason for this? Do you know the difference between reality and all this other stuff? And a lot of people discuss this issue a lot. And it's kind of a big conspiracy here. And the fact that this questions that people are looking into is the whole cyberpunk situation, and how she, every time when journalists try to attack this whole thing, it does seem to fit a connection here with all these businesses that are going back and forth with each other, and all the news outlets with coordinated attacks like robots attack one specific game over the content it has. And it does seem to make a lot of people question this because of the fact that, yes, they are saying that the game is racist, they are saying that this and that, but it does seem to hold some leg to stand on. And it seems that some people realize that this does seem kind of conspiratorial, but it does make sense how these businesses are coordinating, especially with the help of the news outlets, to coordinate an attack. And it does seem to work on their favor. But at the same time, it backfired when they found out that, and I do believe in this case that Anita Sarkeesian, with good intentions that she has, I realized, she doesn't have really good intentions. She just wants the money. And the fact that I can't believe that businesses would give her this amount of money to basically spend to be an activist when you shouldn't have to be in the first place, because you are a business and you shouldn't have to do this for the sake of good PR when you could just donate that money to something else. And of course, Anita tried to switch it around and try to say, oh, you need to donate to me so I can do the activism and speak for them. No. they actually did a good thing when they donated to a certain actual charities. And those charities actually did do good with that money. But unlike Anita, she basically spent all that money on trips, on a lot of things, and it's not worth spending the money on her. It's best to spend the money on better charities than this, because if people are going to criticize you or attack you for this, especially in this whole situation, and right now people are discussing this issue, especially what's going on with Anita, a lot of people are talking about this. And this is kind of why people are discussing this issue, and it's just so fucking boring. And I know that this is kind of boring. Hold on, guys. Let me go ahead and get on the chat here. I know that my YouTube channel sucks balls. Jesus Christ. Let me see if I can get any messages. I know that I don't have any. Alright. I haven't really... Yeah, it's pretty sucky. As far as I know, there's been a lot of discussions here, and I know that people don't like what's going on. So I'm just going to go ahead and say this. A lot of people are not happy with this. So I'm going to try to get people on here. I don't know if they're going to try to get on. I haven't really discussed anything with anybody for a while. I know that they're probably busy with their own lives. Let's see. Man, this is ridiculous. Let's see. I'm just going to try to look up something because I know that some people are really turned away by this. And there's been a lot of discussions and a lot of problems. And it seems that there's been discussions about this issue, especially, oh yeah, let me go ahead and change the subject here because a lot of people are talking about the Neon Genesis Evangelion situation. For those who don't know, ABD had been, there's been a lot of hate for, with Netflix, considering that they can't get the song Fly Me to the Moon ending to happen because the licensing to get the music to play the endings for the song, they couldn't do it. It was an interesting time back in those days because it was a remix song. And what happened was they had a bit of an issue. Heck, I remembered back in the days, right now, Fly Me to the Moon licensing issue with Netflix is kind of a big problem because the song Fly Me to the Moon remix, let me see if I can find it. Fly me to the moon and let me see forevermore. You're the one that... Nah, sorry if I can't really sing that song. Let me see if I can find the lyrics to that song. Fly me to the moon and let me sing. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Fill my heart with song. Let me sing forevermore. You're the all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. In other words, I know that song really is a weird song because there was a remix to that song that a lot of people talked about, because right now Netflix removes the Neon Genesis song "Fly Me to the Moon" to make other changes, and a lot of people were kind of upset about this because this is something that a lot of people were discussing. And let me see if I can look it up. There's an article on GameSpot, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about this. One of the June's biggest Netflix additions is the beloved anime series Neon Genesis Evangelion. Marketing to get a big anime devotees to show had been difficult to track down in the English in the West. But it's out now in its entirety on Netflix. However, it's not good news to show the missing key component. While another aspect is firmly seen to change in the localization process, the longtime fans of the series is calling foul. The Netflix streaming is missing some of the music cues, as well as the karaoke covers for the old standard "Fly Me to the Moon," which would play in the end of every episode. Some users have claimed that Netflix Japan has retained the covers, which could suggest that the music licensing issue. Either way, it's a memorable aspect of the original version of the show that's gone here. Netflix US Evangelion has missing music cues on the iconic karaoke-style covers of "Fly Me to the Moon" that's used in the end of every episode. But Netflix Japan has it. Probably because it's not paying for the music license. Really dismaying the streaming can do this. Now, a lot of people are talking about this. Now, I'll show you. Show the article. Because this is pretty interesting. Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's hot.
I hate that when they do that.
That's hot.
Now, a lot of people are talking about this because the funny thing on the Japanese Netflix, "Fly Me to the Moon" is on their definite must be a copyright issue. Meanwhile, another Twitter user has shown purported side-by-side translations from the original, and it appeared to be a gay theme involving the key character. The sci-fi series focused on adolescents who are uniquely suited to the plot of the armor defending against the attacks of the beast known as angels, rated TB14, known as headed themes surrounding the violence of psychological religion and sexuality. Netflix has the original episodes of the series, as well as the two films, The End of Evangelion and The Death of Rebirth, which I do remember watching this anime series back in the early 2000s through 90s, because I used to remember watching this in the early 90s when it came out. As I remembered watching this, I watched the originals back in the days. I watched the full series. I didn't finish it up until around the mid-2000s because it was hard for me to find good copies of the anime, especially on the VHS, because back then VHS was the thing, but it cost about almost $30 just to get it at Suncoast. And I used to remember watching this series through ABD because ABD had the license back then to make this series. And as I recall, ABD is no longer around because they went out of business due to, piracy and all this other bullshit that happened, especially money issues they had. So they got bought out by, you guessed it, Funimation, which owns the original retainable rights to the series right now. As I recalled about this anime, it is a really big anime. And from what I've seen from this situation, it was a licensing music. It was a music issue, and I actually really liked the music song for it, "Fly Me to the Moon." And they even did like several remixes, several versions of "Fly Me to the Moon," and I can see why they had a copyright issue with that. Especially trying to put "Fly Me to the Moon" in there because the original copyright holder owns the rights to this. But as far as I know, if you want the original version, I suggest going to get the AVD version of it because they do have the originals. And the weird thing about it is that Twitch. Let's see if I could find it. Because the problem right now, getting the original copies is expensive. Because I know from a fact that looking at it from Amazon, it is expensive to look up on Amazon. Because a lot of people talked about this a while back. Because Neon Genesis is expensive. Because trying to find like the original animes, like I'm gonna show you guys the cost of this, and you're gonna probably freak out about this. The original cost of these animes.
Oh, that's hot.
Just to get the DVD originals, it is about $50 for a used copy of Neon Genesis, the End of Evangelion DVD from 2002. $50 freaking dollars. That's almost about $53 plus shipping and handling. Now you can see right here, they're amping up the price of this. No joke. Keep this in mind. This is why people probably have the right to bitch about, because that series is hard to find, especially the Platinum Collection. It is freaking $400 just to get that DVD set. That's how bad it is. You have to collect the whole full series, as you can see right here. Yep, you can see right here the end of the show. You can get it for $9.99. You can see right here. The collection of it and everything is $9.95. Collection 8, because it was like 8, I think like 8 or 9 DVDs that you could get from this. And you can see the full collection is about, the Platinum Collection is about $300. It's like $400. That's how big this anime was back when I was a kid. And I used to remember this. The VHSs were worth about, oh boy, about $30 per copy. 30 if you're lucky. The DVDs were probably about $11 to $15 at Hastings if you were lucky to get a copy of them. And oh boy, this is how bad it is right now. You can see right here, people are amping up the prices thanks to the fans, because that's how bad it was. If you get the perfect collection, that's the audio CD, that's like $29.90, like $28. You can see right here the DVD for Neon Genesis Platinum Collection is like $200 freaking dollars. And this is how bad it is. The fandom is terrible. That's how bad it is. And I used to remember this anime series, and I'm glad I finished watching this series, but I had to give, I felt ashamed that I had to give that thing away. Because that series was so crazy, even by AVD. It was a really good series, but looking at it from when I watched it, it was one of the craziest series I ever watched it. And that's what I remembered. But that's the problem right now these days. The fandom is pretty bad because ABD no longer sells it, and the fact that it's hard to get a good decent copy of the DVD, and that's pretty bad right now. Even if I suggest to get the original version of the anime on and watching it on Netflix, I suggest people should buy the original, but unfortunately it's expensive as hell because of the fandom. The fandom itself is very toxic to the point that they are upset. But of course they can't buy it because God knows it's expensive as hell. And the original copies from ABD, especially if you get it from VHS, DVD, or if possibly Blu-ray, And I know Blu-ray is expensive, especially for the Japanese version of Neon Genesis Evangelion series. Now, trying to find a copy of that is a really silly thing to do. And oh boy, this is crazy. Let's see if I can find the Blu-ray box set, because this is something that people should talk about, because they don't want to admit to this, and they basically bitch about this for a long time. Let's see, the trilogy. No, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the TV series if they have it on Blu-ray, because this is how bad it is. That's how bad the fandom is. It's expensive to get, and that's why they're probably bitching about it, because watching the original series is a thing to them. And even I remembered watching the original, and I could even tell you from my experience of it, it was weird. And I actually did enjoy the series, but not not to the point where it's expensive. Like, even if I could try to find the Neon Genesis Evangelion, let me see if I can find the complete box set, because this is, because it's pretty bad, because they only have like the movie trilogy of Evangelion 1.11 and 2.22 and 2.33. And the only thing I could look up is oh cool, Narnia's Secret of Blue Water. I might buy that. Multi-format Blu-ray and DVD. And the Blu-rays, so they got one for $60. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Okay, I might have to add that to my list of things I might buy, because I already bought a few animes here and there. But when I can tell you one thing, buy the Blu-ray if they ever consider this. Listen to me really well, because I'm going to tell you guys something. In the anime industry, please release the full series on Blu-ray. Please. Neon Genesis Evangelion, please release that on Blu-ray, like the complete series. Even if you have to, don't modify it, leave it as it is, leave it as an original entirety. That's all you have to do. Don't try to redub it or anything. It was perfectly fine the way it was. It actually had some really decent quality stuff in there, and I don't know why people want to change it for the better. Now, Netflix had the original episodes in the series as well as the two films, but the Evangelion Death and Rebirth was given a new theatrical version starting 2007, as the trilogy films are roughly the same story style, meant to be more accessible. The movies are not available on Netflix. So right now, people are really upset about this, and I know this from I can relate to this because I can tell you from my experience with when they did the remastered version of Robotech. I just didn't like the remastered version, especially the audio stuff that they did when they added in the little Transformers stuff. I didn't like it. As far as I know, there's been a lot of discussion about this, and this is something that bothers me about this, especially the issue that someone brought up was the censor of the gay theme involving a key character, Kaoru and Shinji. I know about that episode. I seen that episode where he basically kissed him, and of course, in the end of kissed him unexpectedly. And because Shinji really liked him as a friend, and then he finds out that Kaoru is an angel, and thus Kaoru killed him, and he had to because he felt he had to do the right thing, and it was confusing for him because he, as a kid, dealing with the situation of him being like a robot fighting a guy driving a robot. He couldn't really deal with the issues that he had emotionally. And watching this whole anime, it was a time when people could relate to that. You know, dealing with responsibility, dealing with a situation, dealing with something you couldn't handle pretty well, but they just tell you just do it. And it was a weird anime, but at the same time, it was a really good one too. But at the same time, you know, remembering Neon Genesis Evangelion, it was the weirdest anime ever. There was a lot of things that are so dark about this, like especially the fandom itself. I heard a man murdered his mother over this, and it was pretty dark. It is a really dark anime, and some of their fans are just toxic as hell. And I can tell you from experience back in the early 90s and 2000s, the fandom was toxic. Because I remembered the fandom, and the fandom itself is crazy as hell. And they can be really toxic. And I can tell you from experience, they are toxic as hell. But I would suggest selling the anime on Blu-ray. Sell the original, no licensing whatsoever. You just release the Blu-ray as is with the original episodes, then have your little, you know, fill-ins and everything. Having your the people from Gainax and everyone talk about the show and everything, and just hopefully sell it for probably a decent price that people could buy. Like, you could put it in a separate collection, like you could put a separate collection of it and just be like, okay, this is the big special edition with uncut scenes and everything else edition of the series and movies, and you can just do it like that, and just hopefully it would sell well. Because right now the fans are upset because of this, and it should be sold on Blu-ray. It should have been released on Blu-ray a long time ago, along with a lot of stuff. And I think they should release Neon Genesis Evangelion, the full series as is, in its original entirety, with Fly Me to the Moon. Everything else should be in it. Because I'm kind of upset with Funimation over this, because they actually removed one of the things that I was looking up. I found out they took away an ending from, because I found out from other sources that there was an unaired ending, and I even watched it on fan subs when they showed it, and I bought the Blu-ray version of the full collection of Code Geass, which contained like R1 and R2, the full collection. And there was an ending that I remember watching in the fan sub, and I watched the fan sub, and there was an ending where they basically showed Lucian appearing in the ending in a hat, and he basically smiled, and of course it ended there, because they were giving a hint that he will be appearing in the next series, and what do you know, he appeared in it. They should have put that. They should have left that in and kept it hinted that he was going to come back. But oh no, they censored it and left it as it is. And I was like looking up in the Blu-ray, they didn't have that unaired ending, and that really upset me a lot. But I didn't hold it against Funimation, because I understand they're just a family-friendly company, and they do that either way. But I understand, as a fan myself, I can relate to a lot of people with the whole issue with Neon Genesis Evangelion. But I'm brutally honest with you guys, the fandom is toxic. Because I know from my experience with the fandom, they are toxic as hell. And as far as I know, you know, I've seen this series before, and I have watched this anime. I have watched this anime in the past, and I even do remember the remixes of Fly Me to the Moon endings that they did for the show. And of course, this is something that most people need to understand, that this is nothing new. This has happened before, and I'm pretty sure the fandom would understand, because I seen this happen, and looking at it from afar, from this whole situation with the fandom, oh boy, they really are going downhill with this. Because Netflix already pissed off a lot of people. But don't worry, guys. I'm pretty sure they're going to release the Blu-ray, and I'm pretty sure they're going to probably leave it as it is. But if not, then get mad. Do not buy the Blu-ray unless it's confirmed that they left out, if they have the original stuff on there. Because I'm just going to say this right now, and a lot of you guys need to understand, because I'm just going to be nice about this, and I'm just going to be nice about it again, because this is something that needs to be addressed, and this is something that I'm going to say right now. Yes, they're possibly going to make another, I hope they'll bring out the Blu-rays for Neon Genesis Evangelion, because I myself would love to buy the original Blu-ray of the movies and the episodes and the TV series itself, so I can deal with the fact that, yes, I can deal with the ending of it. But I know that there's going to be a fan base that's going to probably be toxic enough that are getting upset over this, because of the fact that, yes, and I do agree with you guys on this, that they removed a lot of stuff due to the licensing issues in the US over this anime. Especially the music and everything, and I understand that some of you guys are not happy about this, and this is something that we need to talk about, and yeah, this is something that should have been discussed. So, as far as I know, there is a lot of things going on, and a lot of things have been happening, especially in this space of the internet. So, as far as I know, I'm not going to hold it against you guys, because this is something that needs to be addressed right now. Let's see. Let's see what's going on. Alright, here we go. Let's see what we need to do here. That's funny. I'm sorry, guys. I'm kind of distracted right now. There's been a lot of things that are going on, and this is so ridiculous to the point that people are laughing at this. This is where it's getting to the point where craziness has begun. Oh boy. Now let me see if I can look up something here, because this is so crazy. Oh boy. I know I'm boring the hell out of people. This is kind of boring. Because there's been some discussions, and it's just so bad right now. It's crazy to the point where a lot of people are discussing a lot of things. Oh boy. Really? 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 Okay. Okay. Hold on. Let me look at this up. Oh, really? Anita is broke. Oh, boy. Oh, this is really bad. Pedo journals arrested. Yeah, there's been a lot of discussions about what's going on. Let's see what we could do here, because I know that I can't really get anybody on this show because there's been a lot of discussions and a lot of issues. Haven't really let me see if I could find something, because there's so many crazy discussions that I'm just gonna talk about, because this is something that a lot of people are talking about right now. Oh boy. Let's see here. See if I could find it. Man, this is weird because I got to discuss this because this is something that needs to be talked about. I don't know what to talk to about because there's so many weird stuff that's been happening. It's sort of weird though that there's been stuff on Reddit, people bringing up stuff on Reddit. It's like, this is kind of weird. Let's see here. See if I could find it because this is like, ugh. Quickly. See if I could find it. Jeez, there's a lot of good stuff here. A Gawker editor exits ahead of relaunch and returning to interview. Let's see here. HV's laws make it to the U.S. Let's see what's going on over here. Because I'm going to try to find something here. I know that I hate doing this, but I might as well do it right over here, right now. So let's go ahead and peer with Will Smith.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or Snapchat to keep up with the world. 68% of Americans get at least some of their news through social media, and for the under 30 set, that figure's a lot higher. The tech giants are private companies, and for the most part have the freedom to determine what's posted on their platforms. But are there choices about what content to remove and who to admit really being made free from government pressures? Not enough to just give people a voice? We need to make sure that people aren't using it to Amsterdam found that AI designed to catch hate speech on Twitter misclassified it 80% of the time. Another joint study out of China and the UK found that hate speech lacks unique discriminative features and is difficult to discover. And after Europe reached an agreement with the tech companies to build a terrorism hash database that used AI to automatically flag and remove extremist propaganda, YouTube took down an entire archive meant to document war crimes in Syria.
These lawmakers and policymakers are motivated by wanting to stop the spread of terrorism, wanting to stop what's become known as self-radicalization. What's the big deal that a few things get taken down accidentally if we're stopping people from joining ISIS?
Right now, we don't have any clear information telling us that taking down all of these videos really is making us safer. In fact, a lot of people who are expert researchers on security are concerned that this will effectively drive more people into darker corners of the internet, into echo chambers where they only ever hear from people who agree with a violent agenda. There are people in law enforcement who would prefer sometimes to leave things up so that they can monitor what's going on and go after the perpetrators of real-world violence. So it's not clear what the security upside is. At the same time, it's not entirely clear what the speech and expression downside is. We know there's a downside. We know those 100,000 videos from the Syrian archive that were documenting violence in Syria for future prosecution disappeared. We know there's harm to speech, but we can't quantify that either because we don't have the data and transparency from platforms or from governments to understand that side of the calculation.
Back in the US, Democratic presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren has publicly called for the breakup of the tech giants. And the Federal Trade Commission and Justice Department are gearing up for antitrust investigations into Facebook and Google. And conservatives like Republican Senators Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz have called for social media companies to be treated more like public utilities that have to treat all content as neutral or lose their liability protection.
Right now, big tech enjoys an immunity from liability on the assumption that they would be neutral and fair. If they're not going to be neutral and fair, if they're going to be biased, we should repeal the immunity from liability so they should be liable like the rest of us.
I don't even know what being neutral would mean. Would it mean allowing every single thing to be uploaded and just showing it in chronological order? Can you be neutral if you have search features? Can you be neutral if you allow people to mute things? A truly neutral, meaning showing everything that is legal, social media platform would be full of content that most users don't want to see and that certainly advertisers don't want to have next to their ads.
Keller says that the best way to reduce the power of Google, Facebook, and Twitter is through new competition, which regulation can stifle. So when Mark Zuckerberg requests a more active role for governments in monitoring his own company, perhaps his underlying motive is to protect Facebook from competition by raising the barriers to entry.
There does seem to be this sense that Twitter and Facebook are controlling the conversation in a way at this point, the public conversation. Do you think that is going to continue to be the case going forward, or are we on the verge of something different?
If we're on the verge of something different, I don't know what it is. And I think if we continue seeing laws passed that more or less entrench incumbents by making requirements that only they can afford to comply with, that makes it much less likely that we ever get to this other future where we get away from the current information gatekeepers having the role that they do now.
Yep, that's what's going on right now, and it's getting to that point. Yeah, and there's a lot of things that are going on about the neutrality thing. So let's go ahead and talk about this, because I'm about to show you guys another video, and I'm gonna Opie, stop. Jeez, my dog always does this to me. He never leaves me alone. He always does this to me. So I'm gonna try this again and see how this is gonna work out. So here we go. with another video that's interesting because this is a while back. Because being neutral, a lot of people try to point out, Opie, please, I know you want to play, but you can't. Jeez, how many commercials does this thing have? Alright, I'm going to give you guys another video, and it's going to be interesting.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
I hate those advertisements.
Who are the people in your eyes that have horrible points of view? Isn't that a very subjective characterization? Is it a specific group of people, or is it anybody you disagree with, which is pretty much everyone? It seems to me that a lot of people are still unable to grasp this very easy disclaimer. The things that happen in the game and the worldviews being presented in the game are not necessarily reflective of the worldview of the people who work on the game. It goes back to that tweet I talked about in my last video on Cyberpunk 2077. The author's intent doesn't matter because the harmful message is still there. The problem is, how are we going to know which parts of the game that say those harmful messages? What will guarantee these sensitivity readers to get all the messages? And how much of the game should be changed in order to not offend people? Can the game exist at all if it's been neutered into not offending everybody? I understand that the political landscape in current year are incredibly toxic. I understand that there are tons of hostilities that are happening in current year. What I don't understand is the needs of having fictional entertainment to be neutered so that they don't appeal to the people who have horrible points of view. Going back to the elements that you criticized earlier, I assume that the people who have horrible points of view, meaning those who actually endorse slavery in real life. One, how many are there? And two, how many of those will interpret the game as endorsing their worldview? Anyway, I need to move on because this is such a terrible take. I can just go on and why it is. They said as much last year, and while it's not an uncommon position amongst AAA companies, at least most of them have said not to resurrect this nonsensical argument every few weeks. Yeah, you're right. They don't. Most AAA game companies these days focus more on making money and exploiting their consumers with garbage business practices. Ever since Battlefield 5, they figured out that appealing to your types of people don't really make a lot of money, so they just use the direct approach of holding you upside down and shaking you to squeeze every little penny. At least I'm glad that partisan politics in video games is no longer as much of an issue as they were back in the day, because it means that we're going to be talking about the real issues, like garbage business practices that actually harm the consumers. The funny thing is, even if we criticize those, people like you are still pissed
How
off.
about
More on that in a better video. Ubisoft Legendary Melee game posts Brexit Watch Dogs in the next couple of days. Here's something I can say about it with complete confidence. It will make a political statement, no matter how much they protest that it doesn't. To be honest, I don't think so. Now, this article was written days before Ubisoft's E3, so the writer didn't get the chance to see the trailer, but for those of you who haven't seen the trailer, I do want to talk about it for a bit. If you look on the trailer itself, it doesn't look like a game that specifically says, oh, this is what happens right after Brexit. It looks like a generic 1984 dystopian sort of scenario, and you're a bunch of hackers trying to rebel against it using drones and stuff. Nothing explicitly political, or at least partisan, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the game does have partisan politics in there, but Ubisoft has been rather consistent with their games, and by that I mean not explicitly partisan or trying to cater to a certain political demographic. And after game journalists constantly heckled them about Far Cry 5 and The Division 2's lack of partisan politics, I don't really blame them if they just want to focus on making a fun game. And Watch Dogs 3 looks fun, so we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah. So, see if I can get this right. Okay. So I guess this is it. The fact that people are talking about this whole situation, I'm just going to say this right now. A lot of these people who are... Get out of here. Go. Excuse me. I don't want to hurt you, Billy. You're a good boy, but come wait for me until then, okay? Alright. There we go. Now, I'm going to be nice about this, and I'm going to be nicer about this. A lot of the stuff that's going on within closed doors of businesses right now is that they're trying to attack certain business. They're attacking a specific target of businesses. I noticed that Ubisoft had been attacked. I know that EA has been attacked, but no one criticizes Epic Games for a lot of reasons. Like they brought up the issue about Epic Games Store and the crunch time issue. and then it slowly dies off. Now, a lot of people have been talking about this issue in concern of what was going on behind these businesses and what they're doing. It seems that these businesses are relying on each other to write articles in order to basically promote one other game in hopes to make their game to make money off of it. But right now, there's been some issues, like they're trying to poach a lot of these games away from other people, and I noticed that this is something that they're trying to do. They're trying to get them on the Epic platform in order to make money off of them. And the problem is, not many people are happy about the Epic Game Store and how they treat the customers and how they do these things, these things about the business. Now, keep this in mind. I did pay for one game, and it turns out the game was okay. But the problem is, Epic Game Store can't really, compete with other businesses. And right now, GOG is competing in a really big deal. And the fact that they're trying to get into the market and try to compete with other businesses, and they're trying to compete with Steam, they're trying to compete with, and to be fair, I think Steam didn't really care for it, but the fact is, they're trying to attack CD Projekt Red over GOG in order to make money, in order to basically try to write these clickbait articles, in order to silence other competition, accuse them of stuff, in order to call them sexist, racist, and other things, and of course bring in Antifa, which a lot of people brought up the issue about Antifa, that there's some journalists that are connected to the whole situation. And I think most people need to discuss this because there's a lot of things that are going on. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that there is a problem. There is an issue, and we need to talk about it because there is a lot of things going on, and a lot of things need to be discussed about what Facebook is doing, what social media is doing, and what they're trying to do. Because right now, there is some discussions about why it's becoming a corporate war between all these companies that are connected together, going after one specific business over their game. Now, keep this in mind. They're trying to control the narrative of saying that this game is this and this and this for no apparent reason, pointing out that this game is sexist, all because of the fact, and I'm just going to say this, they are trying to basically start a secret corporate war, trying to manipulate people into attacking something that has nothing to do with them. This is a business issue. And I think the LGBTQ should never get involved in this because it feels like you're being used to basically try to fight against the evil that you think you're fighting against, but really you're fighting an imaginary dragon, and you're never going to fight that dragon because you want to know why? Because that dragon isn't there. And if people don't understand that term, then you're pretty much going to have to understand it someday. Because really, that dragon doesn't exist. And you need to find out if the dragon really exists. If it doesn't exist, then you're pretty much the fool here. That's all I have to say. I gotta go. Good night, everybody. I have to leave now. So, good night.